Okay, example one is this. It says A is 75% of B, and the ratio of B to C is 3 to 2. Show that 8A is equal to 9C. Now, there's a couple of ways to do this. I'll probably do the different ways in different videos. This first way is personally how I would do it. Okay, so we'll just work through it. Now, first of all, we've got this line here that A is 75% of B. Now, you've got algebra here, which is the whole point of this topic. Let's just say you wanted to find 75% of the number 200. What would you do? Well, you know that 75% as a decimal is 0.75. Okay, and of in mathematics means you've got a times. So you would do 0.75 and you would multiply it by whatever you're trying to find 75% of. So if it was 200, you would do 0.75 and you would times it by 200 and you would get a numerical answer, in this case 150. So this is the thinking behind this question. So I always think if you get stuck with a question, look back at an easier example. Okay, so that's the thinking we're using here. So we're now saying, right, well, A is 75% of B. So I can go and say, well, that A is going to be equal to 75% of B. Okay, is going to be 0.75. Again, of, you times it, of B. So it's the same thing as with the numbers, but we've got algebra involved this time. Okay, A is means A is equal to 0.75 times by B. Now, it's going to be much more useful here to be working in fractions. Decimals aren't always the easiest to deal with. And 0.75 is 3/4 as a fraction. So I'm going to write this as A is equal to 3/4 timesing it by B. Okay? Now, if you're saying 3/4 times by B, you can just go and write it as 3/4 B. Okay, now, an important thing to really note with ratio is this. If you had something really simple like, I don't know, the ratio, well, if we had this one over here, that the ratio B to C is equal to 3 to 2, you can write this, and this is quite important, as this, right? Because this is what this really means. It means you've got B over C, okay, is equal to 3 over 2. They mean the same thing. Okay, this is what a ratio means down below here. That's really, really important. Okay, and you can see why that's useful now. If I go and divide everything here by B, so I divide through by B, we're going to get this. We're going to get A over B is equal to 3/4. Okay, so we're just kind of rearranging the equation. I'm dividing through by B. Now this is useful because using this kind of logic up here, I can now go and say, well, down here, that the ratio of A to B is equal to 3 to 4. This is what, sorry, a ratio by definition means this. You're comparing two quantities as a fraction. That is what a ratio is. Okay, so that's really, really useful. So I've now kind of got two different ratios here. I've got the ratio A to B is 3 to 4, and I've got the ratio B to C is 3 to 2. And I've got three different variables here, A, B, and C, with B occurring twice, so over here and over here. So it's now kind of a comparing ratio question. I'm going to write the next part in blue over here. So we've got the ratio A to B to C up here, where A to B is 3 to 4. Okay, so 3 to 4. And B to C is 3 to 2. So B to C is 3 to 2. And what I'm just going to do now is, I'm not even really reading the question, I want to get to eventually show that this is the case. I would get the ratio of A to B to C. Now you can see you've got 4 and 3 here. They both go into 12, so that's times the first equation by 3. So that 4 becomes a 12, and 3 times by 3 becomes 9. Let's times the second ratio by 4, because 3 times 4 gives you 12, and 2 times by 4 gives you 8. Okay, now in the question you can see here clearly you're looking at A to C, right? So we're looking at this part to this part. So we can now go and write down here that the, I want a pen, don't I? So we can go and say that the ratio of A to C is equal to, A to C is equal to 9 to 8. Okay, and this is looking good because I can see I've got 8 and 9 in my answer. Now again, ratios A to C, it is a fraction. You're comparing two quantities as a fraction. So we can go and, using the same sort of idea as over here, we can now go and write that A over C is equal to 9 over 8. This is what a ratio means down here. And we're really close to the answer now. If I use cross multiplication here, so if I times everything through by 8, the 8 is going to go up here. If I times the whole equation through by C, the C is going to go up here. Cross multiplication. Hopefully that's okay, this idea. So that will go to 8a being equal to 9c, which you can see is exactly what I wanted up here. 8a is equal to 9c. So I've shown that is true. Okay. Now the textbook does not go through it in this way. This is just how I would go through it personally. But I then looked at the textbook just to check things were good, and they went through it differently. I will go through the textbook way in this in a separate video next, so you can kind of look at it in different ways. Okay, but that's it. Thank you. Actually, I'm just going to highlight the answer so we can just be really clear that down here, this is what we are wanting. Good stuff.